Have you ever wondered why some days feel different? Why certain moments seem to carry a weight that goes beyond the ordinary? What if I told you that tomorrow, July 24th, is one of those days when heaven itself bends closer to earth? What if the miracle you've been praying for, the healing your family desperately needs, the peace your heart has been crying out for, what if it all depends on 3 simple things you can do in the next 24 hours? Friends, some days are marked by God Himself. Some dates on the calendar aren't just numbers, they're spiritual doorways. And July 24th, the feast day of Saint Charbel, is one of the most powerful days in the entire year for receiving extraordinary graces. You might be thinking, who is Saint Charbel? And why should this matter to me? Let me tell you something that will change how you see tomorrow forever. Saint Charbel was a monk who lived his entire life in silence, hidden from the world, seeking nothing but closeness to God. For over 20 years, he prayed, fasted, and sacrificed in complete obscurity. The world didn't know his name. He spoke little. He asked for nothing. But here's where it gets incredible. After his death, something extraordinary began happening at his tomb. A mysterious oil started flowing, warm, sweet-scented, reddish in color. And this oil, folks, this oil has been the source of thousands upon thousands of documented miracles, cancer patients walking out of hospitals completely healed, the blind receiving their sight, paralyzed people throwing away their wheelchairs. But even more powerful than the physical healings are the spiritual ones. Saint Charbel specializes in freeing people from depression, anxiety, fear, and the invisible chains that bind entire families. And here's what most people don't know. Padre Pio, the great stigmatic and mystic, had a profound spiritual connection with Saint Charbel. He saw in him a kindred spirit, someone who fought the same hidden battles, who carried invisible crosses for the salvation of others. According to testimonies from those closest to Padre Pio, he once revealed that there are 3 specific things every faithful soul should do on Saint Charbel's feast day. 3 spiritual acts that can unlock graces so powerful, they can change everything. These aren't superstitions. These aren't just empty traditions passed down through generations. These are spiritual keys. And if you use them tomorrow, you might just witness the miracle you've been waiting for your entire life. But before we dive into these 3 revelations, I need you to do something right away. If you believe in the power of saintly intercession, if you believe that God still works miracles through His holy ones, type in the comments, Saint Charbel, intercede for me. Because your faith, expressed in those simple words, is already opening doors in the spiritual realm. Tomorrow isn't just another day. Tomorrow is your day, the day when everything can shift, the day when heaven looks down and says, this soul is ready, this heart is open. This prayer will be answered. By the end of this message, you'll know exactly what to do to make tomorrow the most spiritually powerful day of your year. You'll have the 3 keys that Padre Pio himself treasured. The 3 practices that have brought miracles into countless homes. So stay with me. Don't go anywhere. Because what I'm about to share with you next could be the answer to every prayer you've ever whispered in the darkness. Let me paint you a picture of who Saint Charbel really was. Because understanding his life will help you understand why his intercession is so incredibly powerful. Picture a young man who chose to leave everything behind. Family, comfort, worldly success, all of it, to pursue something the world couldn't understand. Saint Charbel became a hermit monk, spending his days in a tiny cell, his nights in prayer, his meals consisting of bread, olives, and water. For 23 years, he lived this way. 23 years of complete surrender. While the world forgot about him, heaven was taking notice. Every prayer he whispered, every sacrifice he offered, every moment of his hidden life was building up spiritual treasure that would benefit countless souls for generations to come. When Saint Charbel died in 1898, those who knew him expected his story to end there. A holy man, yes, a devoted monk, certainly. But what happened next defied all human explanation. His tomb began to weep, not tears, but oil. A mysterious, fragrant oil that continues to flow to this very day. Scientists have studied it, skeptics have examined it, and they all come to the same conclusion. There's no natural explanation for this phenomenon. That sacred oil has become a conduit for miracles that would make your head spin. I'm talking about healings that medical doctors can't explain, families reunited after years of bitter division, addictions broken overnight, children born to couples told they'd never have kids. Here's where Padre Pio comes into the picture. Padre Pio lived his own hidden life of sacrifice. He bore the wounds of Christ on his hands and feet for 50 years. He could read souls. He could be in two places at once. He had visions that would leave him unconscious for hours. Padre Pio recognized in Saint Charbel a spiritual brother, someone who understood that the greatest power comes not from what the world sees, but from what happens in the secret place of prayer and sacrifice. There are documented accounts of Padre Pio speaking about Saint Charbel with deep reverence. He would say, "That monk knows the secrets of heaven. He lived them, and he shares them with those who seek them." In fact, there's a beautiful story about a woman who came to Padre Pio, desperate for healing for her dying child. Padre Pio looked at her and said, "Go to Saint Charbel. Ask him to carry your prayer to the throne of God. Some saints specialize in certain graces, and healing is Saint Charbel's specialty." The child lived. Not only lived, but thrived. And that mother spent the rest of her life telling anyone who would listen about the power of Saint Charbel's intercession. As I'm sharing this with you, I'm reminded of something beautiful. If you're someone who loves to deepen your prayer life, who wants to really connect with these powerful saints, I have something special that might bless your heart. It's a resource I put together called The Power of the Rosary with Padre Pio, Miracles, Protection, and Divine Graces. This spiritual treasure is designed to help you pray the Rosary with deeper devotion and understanding. It contains the most impactful teachings and quotes from Padre Pio about prayer, along with a 30-day prayer guide with daily intentions to strengthen your faith. You'll also find special prayers for protection, healing, and spiritual liberation, the very prayers that Padre Pio himself used and recommended. The Rosary was Padre Pio's greatest weapon, and today it can be yours too. If you feel called to strengthen your spiritual life with material that has already helped thousands of people, just click the link pinned in the comments. Don't let this opportunity pass to grow closer to God through the guidance of one of the Church's most beloved saints. Let's get back to those 3 sacred practices that Padre Pio revealed for Saint Charbel's feast day. Because what I'm about to share with you has the power to transform not just tomorrow, but your entire spiritual journey. These aren't random suggestions. These are time-tested, heaven-approved practices that create a perfect storm of grace in your life. And when you combine them with the powerful intercession of Saint Charbel, miracles aren't just possible, they become probable. We come to the heart of everything, the 3 sacred practices that Padre Pio treasured for Saint Charbel's feast day. I need you to listen carefully, because each one builds upon the next, creating a spiritual ladder that reaches straight into heaven. The first practice, and this might surprise some of you, is to make a sincere, complete confession. Before you think, "Oh, I just went to confession last month," or "I don't have any serious sins," let me tell you what Padre Pio used to say about this. He would tell people, before asking for a grace, clean your soul. Grace won't stay in a dirty heart. Padre Pio spent up to 18 hours a day hearing confessions. 18 hours. People would travel from all over the world just to confess to him. Why? Because he understood something that most of us miss. Confession isn't just about getting rid of sin, it's about creating space for miracles. Think about it this way. Imagine your soul as a beautiful crystal vase. Over time, that vase collects dust, fingerprints, maybe even some cracks. It's still a vase, it still functions, but its beauty is hidden. Confession is like taking that vase and cleaning it until it sparkles. Suddenly, the light can shine through it in ways that take your breath away. Saint Charbel, who lived his entire life in a state of perfect purity, has a special love for souls who seek that same purity. When you approach the confessional with true contrition on his feast day, something extraordinary happens. Saint Charbel himself accompanies you into that sacred space. I know some of you might be thinking, but I haven't been to confession in years. I wouldn't even know where to start. Or maybe you go regularly, but feel like you're just going through the motions. Let me help you understand how to make this confession truly transformative. First, spend time before you go examining your heart, not just looking for the big, obvious sins, but asking God to show you the patterns, the attitudes, the small compromises that have been blocking His grace in your life. Maybe it's resentment towards someone who hurt you. Maybe it's pride that keeps you from admitting when you're wrong. Maybe it's fear that stops you from trusting God completely. Second, be specific. Don't just say, "I was uncharitable." Say, "I spoke harshly to my spouse 3 times this week when they were trying to help me." Don't just say, "I had impure thoughts." Be honest about what those thoughts were and when they occurred. Specificity in confession brings specificity in healing. Third, and this is crucial, express true sorrow. Not just regret for getting caught or feeling bad about consequences, but genuine sorrow for having offended God who loves you so much. This is what theologians call perfect contrition, and it opens floodgates of grace. I remember reading about a woman who had been struggling with depression for over a decade. Nothing seemed to help. Not therapy, not medication, not prayer, but on Saint Charbel's feast day, she decided to make the kind of confession Padre Pio recommended. She spent 2 hours examining her conscience, went to a priest she'd never met before, and laid bare her entire soul. She said that when she walked out of that confessional, it felt like she was walking on air. The depression that had been her constant companion for 10 years was simply gone, not managed, not reduced. Gone, and it never came back. She attributed it completely to the intercession of Saint Charbel and the grace of that perfect confession. When you clean your soul on Saint Charbel's feast day, you're not just preparing to receive a grace, you're preparing to receive a specific kind of grace, the kind that Saint Charbel specializes in: deep healing, complete restoration, miracles that go to the very core of who you are. And here's something beautiful that many people don't realize. When you make this kind of confession, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping your entire family line. The graces that flow from a perfect confession ripple out through generations, healing wounds and breaking cycles that may have persisted for decades. So tomorrow, before you do anything else, find a confessor. If you can't find one, make a perfect act of contrition with the firm intention to go to confession as soon as possible. But don't let this opportunity pass. This first key, the key of purification, is absolutely essential for what comes next. Because once your soul is clean, once that spiritual channel is clear, you're ready for the second practice, and this one will amaze you. The second practice that Padre Pio revealed for Saint Charbel's feast day combines 2 of the most powerful spiritual weapons in our Catholic arsenal: the Holy Rosary and the sacred oil of Saint Charbel himself. Let me be very clear about something from the start. The oil of Saint Charbel is not a magic potion. It's not a good luck charm. It's not something you use superstitiously hoping for instant results. The oil is a sacramental, a physical sign that helps focus your faith and connects you to the intercession of this mighty saint. If you're blessed to have Saint Charbel'S oil, here's what Padre Pio recommended you do. Before you begin your rosary, take a small amount of the oil and make the sign of the cross on your forehead. As you do this, pray silently, Saint Charbel, unite my prayers with yours. Present them to Jesus through the heart of Mary. Then, if you feel called to do so, you can anoint your chest over your heart, asking Saint Charbel to purify your intentions and inflame your love for God. Some people also anoint the doorposts of their homes, asking for the saint's protection over their families and all who enter. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. If you don't have Saint Charbel'S oil, don't let that stop you. The power isn't in the oil itself. The power is in your faith and in the saint's intercession. You can pray the rosary with complete confidence, asking Saint Charbel to carry your prayers to heaven, oil or no oil. Why did Padre Pio specifically recommend the rosary for this day? Because he understood something profound about this prayer. He used to say, the rosary is the weapon. Not just any weapon, but the weapon against darkness, against despair, against every force that tries to separate us from God's love. When you combine the rosary, which is Mary's own prayer, with the intercession of Saint Charbel, who had such a deep devotion to the Mother of God, you create what I can only describe as a spiritual hurricane of grace. The power generated by this combination has been responsible for some of the most extraordinary miracles of our time. I want you to understand how to pray this rosary in a way that maximizes its effectiveness. Don't just recite the words. Don't just let your fingers move through the beads while your mind wanders to your grocery list or your work problems. As you begin each decade, pause for a moment and think about the mystery you're contemplating. But here's the key. As you meditate on that mystery, ask Saint Charbel to help you see it through his eyes. Ask him to show you what that moment meant for your salvation, for your healing, for your family's protection. For instance, when you pray the first joyful mystery, the Annunciation, ask Saint Charbel to help you understand Mary's complete surrender to God's will. Ask him to give you that same spirit of surrender in whatever situation you're facing. When you pray the first sorrowful mystery, the agony in the garden, ask Saint Charbel, who spent countless nights in agonizing prayer, to help you find peace in your own moments of suffering and uncertainty. And when you pray the glorious mysteries, ask this saint who enjoys the beatific vision to give you a glimpse of the glory that awaits all who persevere in faith. Here's where it gets really powerful. As you pray each Hail Mary, don't just say the words. Offer each one for a specific intention. Maybe the first Hail Mary of each decade is for your family's health, the second for financial provision, the third for the conversion of someone you love, the fourth for peace in your marriage, and so on. But remember, you're not just sending these prayers up into the void. You're placing them in the hands of Saint Charbel, who carries them directly to Jesus through Mary's Immaculate Heart. I know of a family who was on the verge of bankruptcy. The husband had lost his job. They were about to lose their home. Their marriage was falling apart under the stress. On Saint Charbel's feast day, they decided to try Padre Pio's recommendation. They anointed their home with Saint Charbel's oil and prayed the rosary together, offering each Hail Mary for their specific needs. Within 1 month, everything changed. The husband received a job offer that was better than anything he'd ever had before. A relative they hadn't heard from in years offered to help with their mortgage. But most importantly, the peace that entered their home was so palpable that their neighbors started asking what had happened to them. That's the power of this practice, folks. When you combine faith-filled prayer with the intercession of Saint Charbel, you're not just hoping for change, you're creating the conditions for miracles. And here's something beautiful that many people experience. As you're praying this rosary, you might start to feel a presence. It's gentle, it's peaceful, but it's unmistakable. That's Saint Charbel himself, drawing near to carry your prayers to heaven. Don't be afraid of it. Welcome it. That presence is a sign that your prayers are being heard and answered. But we're not done yet, because the third practice, the one Padre Pio called the most powerful of all, is still to come. And when you understand what it is, you'll see how these three practices work together to create a perfect storm of grace. We come to the third and most powerful practice that Padre Pio revealed for St. Charbel'S feast day. This one has the power to move mountains. It's the practice of hidden sacrifice offered specifically for the conversion of a soul. Let me tell you why this is so incredibly powerful. When Padre Pio spoke about sacrifice, he wasn't talking about some grand, dramatic gesture that everyone would notice and applaud. He was talking about something much more profound, the kind of offering that only you and God know about. St. Charbel lived his entire life as a hidden sacrifice. For 23 years, nobody knew his name, nobody celebrated his holiness, nobody wrote articles about his spiritual insights. He lived in complete obscurity, offering every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of pain and joy as a gift to God for the salvation of souls. That's exactly what made him so powerful. Because when you offer something in secret, when you sacrifice something that only heaven sees, you tap into the same spiritual energy that Jesus used when he died on the cross. Remember, Jesus could have come down from that cross. He could have called legions of angels to rescue him, but he chose to suffer in love, for love, because of love. Here's what Padre Pio wants you to do on St. Charbel'S feast day. Choose someone specific, who is far from God. Maybe it's your spouse who hasn't been to church in years. Maybe it's your adult child who's embraced a lifestyle that breaks your heart. Maybe it's a friend who's fallen into addiction, depression, or despair. Maybe it's a family member who's filled with anger and bitterness. Choose that person, hold their face in your mind, and then offer a hidden sacrifice specifically for their conversion. What kind of sacrifice am I talking about? Let me give you some examples that Padre Pio himself recommended. You could fast, not just skip a meal, but choose to go without food for a specific period, maybe from sunrise until sunset, offering every pang of hunger as a prayer for that person's soul. As your stomach growls, as your energy dips, instead of thinking about your discomfort, whisper, "Jesus, I offer this for name." Soften their heart. Draw them back to you. You could attend an extra Mass. Wake up early and go to daily Mass, not because you have to, not because it's convenient, but purely as an offering. As you kneel there, as you participate in the holy sacrifice, unite your sacrifice of time and comfort with Jesus, sacrifice on Calvary for that specific soul. You could offer a holy hour. Find an adoration chapel, or simply kneel before a crucifix in your home and spend one uninterrupted hour in prayer for that person. No distractions, no agenda, except to love God and beg for mercy on someone else's behalf. But here's the key, and this is absolutely crucial. This sacrifice must be hidden. Don't tell the person you're doing it. Don't post about it on social media. Don't even tell your closest friends unless they're joining you in the effort. This is between you and God, carried to heaven by St. Charbel'S intercession. Why does it have to be hidden? Because hidden sacrifices have a special power. When you sacrifice something publicly, you receive your reward in the form of human recognition, human praise. But when you sacrifice something secretly, your reward comes directly from heaven. And heaven's rewards are infinitely more powerful than anything earth can offer. Padre Pio used to tell people, pray, hope, and don't worry. Offer for sinners, because your silent offering can pull someone out of hell. Think about that for a moment. Your hidden sacrifice on St. Charbel'S feast day could literally be the thing that saves someone's eternal soul. I want to share with you a story that illustrates just how powerful this practice can be. There was a mother whose son had completely rejected his faith. He'd gotten involved with drugs, left his wife and children, and was living a life that was destroying him. and everyone who loved him. This mother had tried everything: pleading, arguing, interventions, therapy. Nothing worked. Then she learned about this practice from someone who knew Padre Pio personally. On Saint Charbel'S feast day, she made a decision. She would fast from sunrise to sunset every week for an entire year, offering each fast specifically for her son's conversion. But she told no one, not her husband, not her other children, not even her closest friend. For 6 months, nothing seemed to change. Her son's life continued spiraling downward. But this mother held on to Padre Pio's words: pray, hope, and don't worry. She continued her hidden fasts, offering each one through Saint Charbel'S intercession. Then, on a Tuesday morning in the 7th month, her phone rang. It was her son. He was sobbing. He said, "Mom, I don't know what's happening to me, but I can't live this way anymore. I need help. I want to come home. I want to get my life right with God." That son is not only back in the church, but he's become a youth minister, helping other young people who are struggling with addiction and despair. His mother never told him about her year of hidden sacrifices. That remains her secret with God and Saint Charbel. But here's what she did tell me. She said that during those months of sacrifice, she began to feel Saint Charbel's presence in her life in ways she'd never experienced before. She would sense his encouragement during the difficult hours of fasting. She would feel his strength when doubt tried to creep in. And she knew, somehow she just knew, that her sacrifices were being presented before the throne of God by this powerful saint. When you offer a hidden sacrifice for someone's conversion, you're not just asking God to change them. You're proving to God how much you love them. You're showing heaven that you're willing to pay a price for their salvation. And that kind of love, that sacrificial love, is the very love that God used to redeem the world. This is why this third practice is the most powerful of all, because it transforms you into an instrument of salvation for someone else. It makes you a co-redeemer with Jesus Christ, offering your small sufferings united with his infinite suffering for the salvation of souls. So on Saint Charbel's feast day, after you've made your perfect confession, after you've prayed your rosary with the sacred oil, choose your sacrifice, choose your person, and make an offering that only heaven will see. Because when these three practices come together, purification, prayer, and sacrifice, they create what I can only describe as a spiritual perfect storm. And in that storm, miracles don't just happen. They become inevitable. Do you see it? Do you understand why Padre Pio called these three practices the keys to extraordinary grace? Because when you put them together, confession, rosary with oil, and hidden sacrifice, they don't just add up, they multiply. They create a spiritual synergy that opens floodgates in heaven. Think of it as building a spiritual ladder to heaven. The first rung is purification through confession. You can't climb higher if your soul is weighed down by sin and guilt. That perfect confession cleans your spiritual channel, making you a pure vessel ready to receive whatever God wants to pour into your life. The second rung is powerful prayer through the rosary with Saint Charbel's intercession. With your soul clean, your prayers can rise unobstructed to the throne of God. And when those prayers are carried by Saint Charbel himself, they have a power and urgency that captures heaven's immediate attention. The third rung is sacrificial love through your hidden offering. This is where you prove that your faith isn't just words, that your love isn't just feelings. This is where you put skin in the game, where you show God that you're willing to pay a price for what you're asking. And when all three rungs are in place, when you've built this complete spiritual ladder, something extraordinary happens. Heaven bends down to meet you. The distance between your need and God's provision suddenly becomes very, very small. But here's what I want you to understand about tomorrow, July 24th. This isn't just another day when these practices might work a little better. This is Saint Charbel's Day. This is when he has special permission, if you will, to pour out graces that are normally reserved for the most desperate situations. Every saint has their specialties, their particular areas of expertise. St. Anthony finds lost things. St. Joseph protects families. St. Jude handles impossible cases, but St. Charbel specializes in the kind of deep, transformative healing that changes everything, the kind of miracles that don't just fix problems, they transform entire lives. And on his feast day, he's like a spiritual physician making house calls. He's looking for souls who are ready to receive his special touch, his particular kind of healing grace. So how will you know if Saint Charbel is responding to your prayers? How can you recognize his intercession in your life? First, pay attention to an unusual sense of peace. Not just the absence of worry, but a positive, tangible peace that seems to settle over your situation like a warm blanket. People often describe it as feeling like someone strong and gentle is standing guard over their life. Second, watch for meaningful coincidences. Saint Charbel often works through what seem like chance encounters, unexpected phone calls, doors opening that you didn't even know existed. But when you look back, you'll see that these coincidences formed a perfect pattern leading to exactly what you needed. Third, notice changes in people around you. Remember, Saint Charbel's specialty is changing hearts. So if you've been praying for someone's conversion, don't be surprised if they suddenly become more open to spiritual conversations, or if they start asking questions about faith that they've never asked before. Fourth, be alert to dreams or strong spiritual impressions. Saint Charbel often communicates through the language of the heart, sudden inspirations, clear impressions during prayer, or dreams that carry a message of hope or direction. But here's the key. Don't just do these 3 practices tomorrow and then forget about them. Let Saint Charbel's feast day be the beginning of a deeper relationship with this powerful saint. Make him your go-to intercessor for the big things, the impossible things, the situations that require more than human solutions. Keep a small bottle of his oil if you can obtain it. Pray to him regularly, not just on his feast day. Ask for his intercession when you're facing health challenges, family problems, financial difficulties, or spiritual dryness. He's not just available once a year, he's available every moment of every day. And remember, the graces you receive through Saint Charbel's intercession aren't just for you. They're meant to overflow into your family, your community, your world. When God blesses you through the intercession of this saint, he's trusting you to become a blessing to others. So as you prepare for tomorrow, as you plan your confession, prepare your rosary, and choose your sacrifice, do it with expectation. Do it with faith. Do it with the confidence that comes from knowing you're following a path that Padre Pio himself walked and recommended. Because tomorrow isn't just July 24th. Tomorrow is your appointment with the miraculous. Tomorrow is when heaven looks down and says, "This soul is ready, this heart is open." This prayer will be answered, and Saint Charbel, that hidden monk who spent his life in obscurity so that he could spend eternity obtaining graces for people like you and me, is waiting to carry your needs before the throne of the Most High. The ladder is built, the way is prepared, all that remains is for you to climb. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to take a moment and really let this sink in. You possess something precious, 3 sacred keys that Padre Pio himself treasured, 3 practices that have unlocked miracles for countless souls over the decades. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you won't be facing just another ordinary day. You'll be standing at the threshold of Saint Charbel's feast day, armed with everything you need to make it the most spiritually powerful day of your year. You have the first key, perfect confession, that will cleanse your soul and prepare it to receive extraordinary graces. You have the second key, the rosary prayed with St. Charbel'S intercession that will carry your deepest needs directly to the heart of Jesus through Mary. And you have the third key, hidden sacrifice, that will prove to heaven the sincerity of your love and the depth of your faith. These aren't just suggestions. These aren't just nice ideas to try if you have time. These are heaven-tested, saint-approved practices that have the power to change everything. But remember what Padre Pio always said: pray, hope, and don't worry. Don't approach tomorrow with anxiety about whether you're doing everything perfectly. Don't stress about whether your confession is complete enough, whether your rosary is devout enough, whether your sacrifice is significant enough. Approach tomorrow with the heart of a child who knows their Heavenly Father loves them. Approach it with the confidence of someone who knows that Saint Charbel is already interceding for you, already presenting your needs before God's throne. And please, don't keep this message to yourself. Think about the people in your life who are struggling right away. Think about your friends who are facing health challenges, your family members who are dealing with financial stress, your loved ones who seem to have lost hope. Share this video with them. Send it to 3 people who need to hear about the power of St. Charbel'S intercession, because your act of sharing might be the very thing that brings a miracle into someone else's life. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, I want you to share your intentions for tomorrow. What are you praying for? Who are you offering your sacrifice for? What miracle are you asking St. Charbel to intercede for? Don't be shy about this. When you write your intention in the comments, you're not just sharing with this community, you're making a public declaration of faith that strengthens your own prayer and encourages others who might be facing similar challenges. Maybe you're praying for healing from an illness that doctors say is incurable. Write it down. Maybe you're asking for the conversion of a family member who's been away from God for years. Share it. Maybe you need a financial miracle, or healing in your marriage, or protection for your children. Whatever it is, put it in the comments and let this entire community of faith join their prayers with yours. And if you've already experienced Saint Charbel'S intercession in your life, if you've received graces through his prayers, please share your testimony. Your story of healing, of conversion, of miraculous provision could be exactly what someone else needs to hear to strengthen their faith. Before you go, if this message has touched your heart, if you feel called to learn more about the saints and deepen your spiritual life, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building a community of faith here, a family of believers who support each other in prayer and encourage each other in hope. And remember, tomorrow is Saint Charbel'S day, but every day is a day when God wants to pour out his grace into your life. Every day is an opportunity to grow closer to him, to become more like the saints who've gone before us. As I leave you with the words that Padre Pio spoke to so many souls who came to him seeking hope: pray, hope, and don't worry. The heart of Jesus is full of love and mercy for you. Saint Charbel is listening. Padre Pio is praying. And your Heavenly Father, who loves you more than you could ever imagine, is ready to show you just how powerful his grace can be. Don't miss this day. Don't waste this opportunity. Do what they told you to do, and watch what heaven will do next. God bless you, friends. Until we meet again, may the intercession of Saint Charbel bring you the miracle you've been waiting for.